didn't just learn how to moonwalk, right? But you had to learn how to moonwalk in different eras. The Motown moonwalk is different to the Victory era. The Victory moonwalk is different to the Bad era. How on earth did you kind of go about that, ensuring that Motown felt like a discovery, Bad felt like mastery?
Ooh. It really came with dissecting a lot of the videos and also getting as much insight into how Michael felt after each performance, which was hard to get because none of that is online. But I knew he wasn't satisfied with the Motown performance, specifically the spin to the toes and also the moonwalk. But that gave me the liberty to not try and do it perfectly, for the Motown 25 and allow myself to progress as the eras, went on and changed. So with Bad, that was really where it felt like the.
Sorry about that. I gotta hug you, man. I love him so much,
Oh, that's nice.
Come on,
like that, bro.
Gotta represent.
Oh, absolutely.
King of pop.
Yeah, great to see you. With the Bad moonwalk, there's little nuances that change with each moonwalk, and I wanted to make sure you could see the difference with each one.
You learned his autograph. Like, that's the level of homework that you did. So the question, what was the most obscure piece of homework that you did, that you assigned yourself that nobody will see on screen, but you needed to know for your own peace of mind?
Ooh. Probably just things he would eat, things he would watch, things he would sleep to. Many things that weren't captured on camera, just to allow me to really live in that world and make it more seamless. So when I arrived on set, that was just with me. I didn't have to turn it on, type of thing. Yeah.
Katherine's faith was her bedrock. In your preparation and your studies, what did you learn, I guess, about her balancing that with the juxtaposition of her family becoming so famous?
I think that's what women do. That divine feminine energy can accomplish anything. When we're in tune with that energy, when we can creatively visualize what we want for our family, for our lovers, for our friends, for the people that matter the most to us, we are capable of doing all things. And when I think of Katherine Jackson, I think of a woman who was very deliberate about her choices. She was a God-fearing woman, is a God-fearing woman. She is dedicated to her family. She was a wife, she was a mother, she was a woman of service. She is grace, and grace is what creates greatness.
This is a big moment for the family for a lot of different reasons. What do you hope the film showcases about your journey that may have gone misunderstood or unseen all these years?
Well, it's the fact that we're a family like all the other families out there, and that you have to work hard to be successful. We put in the work, and that's what you have to do. That's what Michael did. That's what we all did. You got to put in the work. If you have a goal in life, you got to put in the work to be successful.
But trust me, when we were kids, we didn't realize that. So we didn't understand. My father rehearsing us, and but as you get older, you understand. He saw something that we didn't see, and we did the music because we enjoyed it, and didn't realize the global reach all over the world that we were reaching.
A lot of people think that my father made us. No, we loved to entertain. That's what we wanted to do in life, as little kids, is entertain. Yeah. That's what we love to do. Yeah.
I think that it's really important for them to see the beginning of how it all started and how it all began, because people truly don't know the true story. So this film captures that, and you will be able to see it and enjoy it. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but it's fabulous.
Oh, and amazing performances all around, but what was it like seeing Coleman's performance of your father on the screen like that?
He's amazing. He's amazing, man. Yeah, he is. I haven't met him yet. I'm waiting to meet him here.
Oh, I did. Yeah, when I was on the set, he came. I was in this trailer talking to him. Yes.
It was touching, and yes, of course, I cried. However, Coleman did a fabulous job as my father, and I'm very proud of that as well.
I actually had the chance to interview Joe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was that?
I found him to be, at 89, charismatic.
Yes.
I found him to be charming.
Yes.
I'm curious to you what you learned about the man that you don't think the world knows or would be surprised to know.
Those things, that he was charming and charismatic and he was passionate, and I think that he was he had a great work ethic, and he instilled that in his kids. So I feel like I found up, I wanted to find the man who was the blue-collar man who gave everything he could to really, help his children be the best that they can be. You know what I mean? There's always questions about personality or child rearing, you name it. But he's a man from the South, blue-collar, and he gave what he could,
Were you guys aware at the time the racial barriers that you were breaking? Were you able to kind of conceive that, what you were doing?
No, we weren't. And one of the first time that we realized is because during the Jackson 5 days, that's when they were integrating schools, and they were shipping the black kids to some of the white kids to the white schools. And this fan wrote that, we didn't have anything in common with the white kids. And we were so distance apart. Then our teacher asked us to write about our favorite music. And they wrote, everybody wrote about the Jackson 5. And she said that was the first time that we had something in common, and it brought us together. So we bridged, through our music, we bridged the gap, and we didn't realize that. But that's how powerful music is, positive driven music.
Being my brothers, and they were brothers, you look at them differently than the world looked at them. I just saw them as my brothers who were just musical people and were talented. But later on life, I think my first experience I had was when I saw them in concert for the first time, and all these girls were screaming and fainting, and I'm going, why are they fainting over them? Because they are just brothers to me.
They're just your brothers?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Of course, the iconic victory tour moment is on full display in this movie. Take me back to that day. What do you remember about it when Michael said, this is our last and final show? What was that moment like for the brothers?
Well,
Go on, Jackie.
when they found out we were going to be doing stadiums, like 72,000 people everywhere we went, and Dodger Stadium here, we did 7 nights in a row, sold out 7 nights, and no one's ever broke that record yet. So
We was excited that, things you move forward, and we still tour all over the world, still.
And Miss LaToya, we miss you in the music scene. Are we going to get a new LaToya record anytime soon?
I'm not sure, but stay tuned.
It's pretty insane.
Have you met her?
No, not yet.
So that's obviously got to happen tonight.
My thing is I want to bombard her. One time she was on set and she had like a big cowboy hat, but I didn't get to say anything because it was too fast, you know what I mean? So now it's my chance. I follow her on Instagram, and Coleman told me to just DM her. And I went, Coleman, I'm too shy to do that. He's like, you gotta just do it.
What'd you learn about Michael and LaToya's dynamic? Because it was up and down and all around. What's your takeaway?
It was an honest sibling relationship. They loved each other hard and fierce. They all did. So, and it's a very protective. But they seem to have a lot of fun together. And they had very formative years. They lived together in New York at very young age. So I think that is crucial. And I think they bonded in a friend way too. You know what I mean? And it wasn't his brothers. It was a separate space. But it felt very honest, sibling. They could have a bickering, and they could also make each other laugh like nobody else could. And she just loved him. She just adored him.
What was it like? I mean, obviously, there were a couple of other siblings that weren't in this film. So what was it like, I guess, holding down the woman role in the family?
At times, because the movie itself was so big, I would just I would kind of zone in and out, because I also hadn't worked for 2 years before because of the strike. So I was just sort of taking in being on set again. So I'd kind of forget about that, and then I would plug back in and be like, oh yeah, I guess I do have sisters, you know what I mean? But I would just pretend that they were there in my head.
Yes.
That's pretty much it.
Another room doing something.
And my brothers were so much fun. I was having a good time with them.
Oh, congratulations. I really want to make sure that look, she's literally right there. We need to make this connection happen somehow. We need to see it. Wait, she obviously knows who you are.
She does, because Prince told me. Yeah, she does. Oh, okay.
I am so excited for you.
I have to do this.
I really want you to go and have this. I really want you to go and have this moment. Go in there, be confident. Go do it. Wait, so what did you say? How'd that?
I said, hello, I play you. And then I knew she was slightly overwhelmed. And I was like, I thought I could slide into your DMs. And she was like, don't worry about it. And I was like, I'm still going to do it. She's so amazing. Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, you got me the courage to do it.
How on earth did you keep this a secret? Nobody had any idea until the first screeners.
It's a small part, and I was drawn to this because this was somebody at Michael Jackson's request who was part of trying to make a level playing field and opening up MTV to African American artists and people of all ethnicities. So it was a real honor to be part of that.
What a journey, to say the least. You know, having done a couple of biopics now, what have you learned about that level of fame?
Oh, I mean, what I thought I learned with Freddie Mercury's level of fame was one thing. This takes it to a whole different level. Michael was truly the king of pop. I mean, he was truly the biggest entertainer on the globe. And to really dig in and see the behind-the-scenes footage of how every single place he went since he was 8 years old, he was mobbed by people. Incredible that anyone went through that in their life. So I just feel, and I hope that we show it, and I hope that we show an insight to him and in the film, and people get to see some behind the scenes of Michael. But I just think, even I was surprised at the level of fame when I first got involved.
How did you land at your interpretations of who is this man? How did you crack the code?
Well, I'm not sure if we cracked the code, but like for me, it was really digging into his personality. So I used to play softball with Michael in Balboa Park in 1981 with Michael and his brothers. And Michael would be a kid. I mean, a practical joker, would talk about super soakers like they were Ferraris, right? The first time I ever met Michael, he came up to me, he said, guess what? You're it, and ran off. And I looked at his brother Jermaine, I said, do I chase him? Right? So that's who he was. So I wanted to show that side of him to the world. And Michael was always funny. He was always a practical joker. And you know, there was also this glint in his eye that made you feel good about yourself. So he gave hope and motivation, even when he didn't mean to.
I mean, I mentioned the journey early on, obviously the reshoots. I'm curious, you know, it was going to be very different. What did you gain from that experience?
Oh, so much, because never in Hollywood do you get a chance to go back and redo that far in the process. And the world had changed. And the world had gotten darker. And I remember sitting with Antoine saying, we got to entertain more. And we got to show them a side of Michael that's more levity and more fun and more warmth and heart. So we got a chance to really dig on that side of the story.
You were such a big part of this story.
I am so happy to be here. So happy to see Marlon and Jackie. And, you know, it's really very, very special. And whatever part I played, you know, you can only do so much. They did it all, you know, and I think we had a good team.
You know, when you saw those kids, right, you saw the magic. You would never have imagined, or did you imagine, that all these years later would shut down Hollywood Boulevard for a little premiere telling that story?
Absolutely not, and that's what we were just talking about further up the carpet is from a living room at 1300 East Lafayette Street in Detroit that belonged to Bobby Taylor, one of our Motown artists, to this moment, almost 60 years later, is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal and mind-boggling, to tell you the truth. And I'm so proud to be a part of it. And, you know, I know Mr. Gordy and all of the Motown alumni and artists are really so happy that this movie got made.
What do you remember about Motown 25?
Everything.
Talk to me. Tell me.
Everything. Well, first of all, when I very first had the idea and mentioned it to Mr. Gordy, he went kind of, nah, nobody wants to see that. So the next time I talked to him about it, we had sold it to NBC. I had Richard Pryor as the host, and we were beginning to book the acts. And he became a big believer after that. But, you know, it was such an amazing night because everything happened in that one night. There was no pre-records and all of that. So everybody, I mean, backstage was like a love fest because people hadn't seen each other for such a long time. And I think that family feeling of Motown really was in evidence that night. And so not only booking the acts, but deciding what they were going to do and, you know, all of that good stuff. And then picking other artists to join us, like Linda Ronstadt, you know, and it was just amazing. And it was my first effort as president of Motown Productions, the movie and television arm of the company. And so for me, it was like my maiden voyage. So I hold that very near and dear to my heart. And we won the Emmy for Best Musical Show. So, you know, all good.
I see Bill Bray in all the photos and all the videos, and you know he's just always there in his little hat. You don't get to know Bill Bray.
Not at all.
So how did you get to know a man who is so in the background? You know, there's not much footage of him talking. There's not much. Where'd you find him?
You know, there's hardly any footage of him talking. When I first signed on, I asked the filmmakers if there was anything that I could sort of use as like a hook into creating this character, because my job is to create a character, but in this particular instance it's to create a character who actually existed. So I wanted to do justice to the man, to honor the man himself, and they gave me like a 28-second clip, some old news footage of Bill Bray giving the boys a pep talk before they go on stage, and that's sort of all I had to go off of initially. But along the way, you know, with all the authenticity that the filmmakers tried to cultivate, I got to meet a lot of people who knew both of these men and knew their rapport. So just asked a lot of questions and sort of, you know, perceived notions and built the character as I went.
Did you have access to the originals? How did it work? How did you make sure that you were getting it 150%?
Well, it was really went down to my research. So I did a lot of research online. So I did have access to that, but I also went back to archival magazines of He and the Family. I definitely was very particular about the embellishments of his wardrobe. Like, aside from the weight of it, like, to me and my rule, while I was creating or recreating his costumes, no thread can be out of place. No rhinestone can be the wrong size. No buckle was too square or too round. I was very, very, very adamant about executing that. But truthfully, I think, you know, when you look at his costumes, particularly the bag costume or his jacket, as he's moving, that is a part of his movement, and that was purposeful.